Everyone has heard of Buckingham Palace, but the nerve centre of the British monarchy is based just around the corner at St James's Palace. The Court of St James is the headquarters of the British monarchy. To get to St James's Palace, from Green Park walk to Lancaster House. Pass by Buckingham Palace, then walk past Clarence House until you reach Marlborough Road, where St James's Palace is located. Directly opposite Marlborough Road is St James's Park, which we'll visit later. Changing of the guard occurs on Monday, Wednesday, Friday and Sundays in London. Not just at Buckingham Palace a few minutes away, but at St James's Palace as well. Today is the first changing of the guard of 2025. The King's Guard will be number 9 company of the Irish Guards, with musical support by the band of the Coldstream Guards. The troops turn right into the Mall towards Buckingham Palace. St James's Palace was built between 1531 and 1536 during the reign of Henry VIII. It was built on the site of a former leper hospital dedicated to St James the Less. This new palace was built to escape the strictures of royal life at the main residence at Whitehall, to hunt deer in the nearby park, and as a home to the heir to the throne that Henry hoped his second wife, Anne Boleyn, would produce. In time, her daughter Elizabeth was proclaimed Queen at St James's Palace. Though the first steward king of England, James I, preferred to live at Whitehall Palace, his initial heir, Prince Henry, lived at St James's until his death in 1612. It was at that point that James's younger son, Charles, became heir to the throne. This chapel was regularly used by Charles's wife, Queen Henrietta Maria. During the English Civil War between 1642 and 1651, the palace was commandeered. Charles held court at York and Oxford. After his defeat by the parliamentarians, he was sentenced to death. Charles spent the night before his execution at St James's Palace. The palace fell into disrepair until the Restoration, when his son ascended the throne, rebuilding the palace he was born in. When Anne, granddaughter of Charles I, became Queen, St James's became her main London residence, following the fire that burnt down Whitehall Palace in 1698. The first two Hanoverian kings, George I and George II, settled into the palace. However, when George III succeeded his father in 1760, he decided this 200-year-old palace was not to his liking. In 1762, George III bought nearby Buckingham House from the Duke of Buckingham. as a family home for his wife, Queen Charlotte, and their many children. By the time that Victoria became Queen, St James's Palace was 300 years old. Though Victoria married at the Chapel Royal, she chose to live at Buckingham Palace, which had been renovated by John Nash. It was at these windows overlooking Friary Court that the world first caught a glimpse of Wallis Simpson. Though visitors cannot walk through Friary Court, they can, however, walk along the arched pathway which runs parallel to Marlborough Road. Though the British monarch no longer lives here, some of his relatives do. Following his separation from Diana, Princess of Wales, St James's became Prince Charles's London home. After her death in 1997, her coffin rested at St James's Palace prior to her funeral. When not at school, Princes William and Harry lived at St James's Palace. The following year in 1998, it was at nearby Clarence House that Prince William first met his father's close friend, the then Camilla Parker Bowles. Over the years, in order for the royals to make use of this particular palace, some apartments were rented out to Hollywood royalty, two of whom were Catherine Zeta-Jones and Michael Douglas. The palace runs parallel to Marlborough Road on one side and along Pall Mall on another. This is the Palace Gatehouse. On top of the gatehouse is a bell tower. The clock we see today is not the original, but a 19th century replacement that added a minute hand. Behind the clock is this beautiful weather vane. The palace stretches down Pall Mall to Cleveland Row. It is spread over 4 floors, and although the total number of rooms is unknown, over 100 receptions are held there each year. So, despite not currently being open to the public, it is a functioning building. The late Queen Elizabeth II used the Chapel Royal for worship. Her granddaughter, Princess Beatrice, was baptised there, as well as at least 2 of her great-grandchildren, Prince George and Prince Louis. Though tourists are in close proximity to the palace, make no mistake, it is well guarded by soldiers and police. St James's Palace reminds me in some ways of Kensington Palace, in that modern London buildings sprung up around it. With changing of the guard completed at Buckingham Palace, some of the guards returned to St James's. 1532, Henry VIII bought an area of marshland, which was developed and enclosed for deer hunting. The palace that shares a name with the park was initially meant to be his hunting lodge. When James I ascended to the throne after the death of Elizabeth in 1603, he ordered that the park be drained and landscaped. Exotic creatures were held there. With the restoration of the monarchy, Charles II made more changes. He had the park redesigned in the style of the elaborate French gardens he'd been so impressed with. More landscaping took place during the time of the Prince Regent, the future George IV. He'd asked the great landscaper and architect John Nash to remodel the park between 1826 and 1827. Wildlife still exists at the park, though not in the same way as it did at the time of James I. He'd had camels, an elephant, and a crocodile installed there, as well as exotic birds. Today, there is a memorial walk commemorating the late Diana, Princess of Wales.
So, yeah, she said...
St. James's Park is one of the loveliest walks you can take in central London. And it's a great place to start a historical walking tour. Thanks for watching, and if you like this video, do give it a thumbs up and do consider subscribing.